From a territory to a state, Nebraska is celebrating its 150th birthday this year, and K&B Ag will be looking back throughout the year at the farmers, ranchers, technology, and more, which grew the panhandle of Nebraska to what it is today. It's not widely known, but at one time the panhandle had only 3 counties, which were shown on maps and then were lost. Brian Croft, an instructor at Western Nebraska Community College, and his brother Colin discovered the 6 counties on several maps from the late 1800s.
The counties, there were 3 in the Panhandle, 1 on the edge of the Panhandle and right above southwestern Nebraska, and then 2 in the southwestern corner. So Lyon County, and then there was Taylor County and Monroe, then Harrison, Jackson, and Grant. And after looking through a lot of the documentation about what was going on with the Nebraska's legislatures at the time, of which we had 2, which is an interesting story in and of itself, it was determined that probably this came out of a bill that someone had proposed.
Croft said someone had introduced a bill in either the territory or state legislature, which were running at the same time. He said a bill was probably introduced in 1867. The 12th territorial legislature had a bill introduced, H.R. 104, where Croft found more clues on the counties.
So when I opened that up, it gave the text of what these counties were, and we assumed it had to have been a bill because the counties were drawn exactly on all the maps. And they were not just simple blocks. I'm just going to take up the whole panhandle with a county. They were of different sizes. They were distinct to each other. So it had to have been something that was outlined by latitude and longitude at some point. And that's what the bill did.
He added a little-known fact was the bill also had Wayne County in it from northeast Nebraska, which many people would have guessed had already been a county.
This bill that was introduced by Augustus Harvey, very influential Nebraskan, a newspaper editor, a member of the legislature, a surveyor, actually the surveyor who platted the city of Lincoln. He was the one who introduced this bill for the creation of the 6 western counties and Wayne County.
The bill moved through the legislature until it hit Governor Saunders' desk, where it died. Croft doesn't think the governor was necessarily against the counties, but the session was probably ending and it was buried. The counties, even though they didn't persist, were around for 8 years.
The census taker in the 1870 Nebraska census lists people in western Nebraska as living in these counties. And that's the federal census. It's as exact as it should be, but what's funny is that the 1870 census begins with a notation about a map by Colton. So most likely this census taker, and we have the person's names, Lamphir I think was his name, he looked at the Colton map to determine what counties were there, got to those blocks of counties, and if you lived within that block on that map, you were a part of Jackson County or Taylor County.
Now the 6 counties exist only on historical maps, but at one time Scotts Bluff was almost part of Lyons County. Eventually, beginning in 1871 with Cheyenne County, and finally with Garden County in 1909, the counties of the Panhandle were laid out as they are today. Next, we'll take a look at the 2nd county added to the Panhandle, Sioux County. With KNB.TV News, I'm Chabela Guzman, and 150 Years of Nebraska Agriculture is sponsored by Kelly Bean, proud to be a tri-state region tradition for 90 years.